Hi, I'm Heidi Bergoglio, and I'm the committee chair for Cub Scout Pack 55 in Great Falls, and I'm working with Jimmy Zhang, an Eagle Scout candidate in Troop 55, and we today are going to be talking about the basic inspection that you'll want to do when you go in and visit your bees. People know that they need to go into their beehive, and a lot of people think that what their job is to find the queen, and there's a little more to it than that. So we're going to talk to you about what your checklist items would be and what you should plan to look for every time you go in the hive. So your four basic items that you're going to be looking for are queen rightness and whether or not you have healthy brood, whether or not you have adequate space in your hive, whether or not your bees are collecting adequate stores for the time of year, and then based on your evaluation of your stores, whether or not you need to consider augmenting the feed for your bees. So, and then we'll close out today with the uncomfortable truth of dealing with stings. It's something that happens to beekeepers, and if you just have a plan, it's not that big of a deal. So let's get started.
Okay, so today what we want to talk about is the inspection. There are 4 primary components of your inspection, and we'll cover each one of them, because a lot of the time new beekeepers, when they go into the hive, they think that their responsibility is to find their queen bee, and finding one bee in the midst of 1,000 or of thousands can be quite a chore, daunting task. So we want to look for either find your queen, which is fantastic, or find signs that she has recently been in that area of your hive. And then we want healthy brood. We're also looking in our hive to see if we have adequate space for our bees to store and then also build additional comb. We want to look at the stores that they have created and think about where we are in the season. And then the next step, we evaluate whether or not we need to feed our bees based on what their stores look like and where we are at in the beekeeping year. And the last thing we'll cover today is dealing with stings, which are a true part of beekeeping. You can have all the veils and protective equipment in the world, and you're still going to get stung. So part of the key is just being ready and knowing what to do when it happens. So when I talk about queen rightness, I'm talking about that we have a mated queen in your hive that is actively laying. And as I said, you know, it's intimidating for new beekeepers that they think that they're going to have to find the queen bee, which over time you certainly will be able to do once you learn that bullseye look to look for. But basically what we want is to be able to see that the queen has recently been in an area of the hive. So new beekeepers will start to look for that bullseye that we talked about, the queen here, with all the bees that are around her are facing her. But part of what we also will look for is signs that she's passed. So if we see the little eggs in the bottom of the cells, then we know that the queen has been in that area and at least the last 3 days. We'll want to look for healthy brood, and we'll look at some photos of that in just a moment. And then we'll want to recognize that our population in the hive is increasing. And one of the ways that I describe that to beekeepers is, are you seeing bees covering more of the frames in the hive than they did the last time you were there. So you'll want to keep maybe a little notebook so you can tell yourself how many frames have been filled out, how many frames of brood, wax, and honey do you see. Those are all good notes to keep. Another thing that we noticed when our hive is queen right is that the bees are calm. One of the responsibilities, as we discussed about the queen, is she emits pheromones, and so the rest of the hive knows that everything's well when they sense her pheromone. But one of the surest signs a beekeeper will know when their colony is not queen right is that the bees will be inclined to sting. They'll be a little bit more guarded because they feel like they're vulnerable. So they might sting you. And they also, there tends to be like a growl or a roar noise coming from the hive when all of them are sort of buzzing. So the signs of being queen right, the queen is the heart of the hive and nothing happens without her. So that's the first thing that you'll want to check. Occurs. If you don't see your queen bee in your hive, that is quite all right. If you see evidence that she was somewhere recently, that is adequate. Another thing to help study as you are becoming a more skillful beekeeper is understanding the gestation cycles. If you are not queen right in your hive and you maybe see capped queen cells and you think that you're going to allow your colony to reproduce a queen on its own, going through the process of adding the queen's gestation 16 days to then a worker bee's gestation 21 days. So if you are at day 1 through 3 on your queen's gestation plus the 21 days of a worker, that means that you are going to have 30 something days before you have honeybees that are workforce that are going to be able to draw wax, go forage, keep your hive clean, that sort of thing. So you'll see population dwindling. And